I treated my husband badly and was unfaithful to him because of radical feminist content. He left me, and I ended up very regretful. I cannot say that I did not see the end coming. The first sign was as small as a gesture in the kitchen. Lucas, my husband, put 2 cups of coffee on the counter and asked me if I wanted oatmeal or eggs. I looked up from my cell phone and blurted out a take-charge remark that not even I had planned. He barely contracted the corner of his lips, that micro-gesture he had when he swallowed something so as not to argue before 8. It was 6:01 in the morning on a Tuesday, and I already had my headphones on watching reels of girls talking about setting boundaries, about not taking care of an adult man, about if he does not give you everything, do not give him anything. I started with that content like someone putting on a coat when it gets chilly. I ended up using it as armor for every conversation. I am running late, I said, and pushed his hand away when he wanted to bring the cup closer to me. Just eat something for breakfast. You have been fasting since yesterday, Lucas replied. He spoke quietly like that, as if the house were a library. I am not your daughter. I did not say that, but you are thinking it. And I laughed through my nose. That cutting sound I learned to use as a full stop. I left him alone with the 2 cups. In the hallway, the iPhone alarm vibrated with notifications from my groups. Women who do not care for men. Radical Self-Care Club. I am the boss. I had arrived there months before through algorithm suggestions. At first, they made me laugh, then they gave me gasoline. I started measuring everything with that twisted ruler. If Lucas asked me for something, it was mental load. If he proposed paying half and half, it was exploitation. If he complained about my overtime, it was control. The first weeks I speak of here have no blood, no screams, not even big scenes. They are lists of small things. Me coming back every night later from the office smelling of air conditioning and the computers on the 11th floor. Me telling him, do not touch me, I am tired, when he came close to hug me at the door. Me ghosting his voice while watching more videos on the sofa. Every like was a coin thrown into a well that answered me with another set phrase for my next fight. Will you stay on Thursday for dinner with my sister? He asked me one Sunday while filling the dishwasher. Can you tell her no? I answered without looking up from my cell phone. I promised her we would go. Promising things without consulting is manipulation, I recited, literally. I am not ashamed to admit it now. I am ashamed to remember that at that moment, I said it with certainty. He closed the dishwasher door carefully. I did not even help to tidy up. The cheating on him did not start out of physical desire, but out of that mixture of rage and hunger for validation that feels like a hollow behind the sternum. His name was Evan, a consultant who rotated through our company every 2 months. Tall, sober smile, read my emails quickly and returned brands to me with comments like, "Brilliant approach, your table saved me." The first time he wrote to me on Slack, at 11:47 at night, I was sitting at the dining table with the warm light of the lamp, and Lucas was sleeping in the room with the door ajar. Evan Slack, 11:47 at night, awake. Me, yes, Evan, I was thinking about your presentation. What clarity. Not many do it like that. Me, thanks Evan. I owe you a coffee when this is over. To learn. Me, learning sounds like an excuse. Evan, sometimes the truth needs excuses. I laughed in silence. I put the cell phone face down. I picked it up again. I replied with a sticker. That is how it started. With Lucas, I started sharpening my absences. Late meeting. Deadline. Evan is a workaholic and raises the standard for us. He said little but looked at the wall clock that I myself had chosen in an object store, M-Century, which now seems to me like a museum of wrong decisions. On Thursdays, I stopped going to dinner with his sister. On Saturdays, I excused myself from breakfasts with his parents. I bought flowers for myself and uploaded stories with phrases of, "I lack nothing, I am enough." "Can we talk?" he said to me one night. He was sitting on the edge of the bed in an old t-shirt with his hands clasped. About what? About us. I am not a project that is discussed. I am a woman, I recited again, and it sounded pathetic when the echo bounced off the closet. I am here, he said simply. I do not need you to be. I need you to stop demanding things from me. I am asking you for 10 minutes. His voice did not rise. You are taking away my air. and I left the room as if I were drowning. In the hallway, I wrote to Evan. Me, coffee tomorrow, Evan. Evan, I thought you did not accept excuses. Me, call it research. The first coffee ended up being a bar, and the bar ended up being room 614 of a chain hotel that smelled of wet carpet and hallway disinfectant. I took off the guilt like someone taking off their shoes in front of a borrowed door. There was no romance. There were messages, midnight tacos, Uber from the hotel to my house with the ticket deleted from the app. There was the first deliberate lie when Lucas asked, "Everything okay?" Yes, I answered very clearly. Lies are more credible when you do not hesitate. Do not ask me at what moment I went from treating him badly to looking for ways to do it. I started scolding him for everything. If he washed the clothes and forgot a towel in the washer, see? I cannot trust you with anything. If he arrived with flowers, you think my time is paid for with this? If he approached from behind in the kitchen and kissed my neck, I would pull away as if a stranger had touched me and say, I am not up for that. I started, furthermore, to impose absurd rules, that he sleep with a t-shirt because sweat disgusts me, that he not use strong colognes, that he not touch my hair, that he not put his keys on the counter because it sounds ugly. Sometimes I listened to myself and did not recognize myself. Other times, I clung to the sensation of power. The confrontation arrived with the banality of a receipt. One Saturday morning before leaving for the gym, Lucas said from the living room, a statement arrived from the credit for the truck. I am going to leave it on the table. Leave it in the tray, I answered automatically. It does not fit with the HOA letters. He came closer and left it on my laptop. It was then that he saw the white corner of an envelope with the hotel logo. I had not seen it. Evan had put it in my bag by mistake. Did you go to the Marriott? He asked without raising his tone. I froze. I did not know what was inside there. I knew later. It was the copy of the charge for late checkout. He did not touch it. He looked at me, not at the paper. A meeting, I said. I wanted to hold his gaze and I could not. A meeting in a room, he pointed to 614 written by hand by someone in a hurry. I do not have to explain anything to you. It was the only thing that occurred to me. And that was exactly what broke us. Not the sex in the hotel, not the messages, but my arrogant certainty that I did not have to explain anything to the person with whom I had said yes in front of a judge and my parents. Explain one thing to me then. He took a deep breath. At what moment did I start being your enemy? I did not answer. My phone rang. Evan, with a useless, I miss you. I opened the conversation and, as if that world were more real than my living room, I wrote, I cannot talk now. Lucas watched me. He took his keys, his wallet, and walked toward the door. I waited for the explosion. Instead, he said, I am not going to yell at you. And he left. The investigation was not a detective, nor cameras, nor a gossiping friend. It was him, quiet, watching, adding up lines. 2 days later, he asked for my laptop to print something. I left it without a password because I trusted my memory to delete messages. What I did not delete were the backups, nor the synchronization of Slack, nor the Uber records. When I came back from the shower, he was sitting with my chats open and a clear plastic bag with my headphones inside as if they were evidence. Do you want me to read to you? He said. There was no mockery. There was devastation. No. Sometimes the truth needs excuses, he read in a low voice. Call it research. I miss you in 614. Yes. I did not cry. I did not scream. I said, what are you going to do? The logical thing, he answered. He put my laptop in front of me like returning a loan he no longer wanted. I am not going to humiliate you nor take revenge. I am going to leave. That is your response, coward, I spat, because when you lose control, you attack. No, he said, it is my limit. That night, he slept on the sofa. The next morning at 7:20, he put clothes in a suitcase. He kissed our dog. Yes, the dog that he insisted on adopting and that I said gave me allergies, and he left without looking back. The first minute, I thought it was a trick to scare me. An hour later, I called him. Where are you? At Mateo's house, his best friend. Come back and let's talk like adults. We talked yesterday. You are going to throw everything overboard for a nonsense. It is not a nonsense, he said and hung up. Here I should say that the world came crashing down on me immediately. No. The first days, I felt light, as if they had taken a heavy sack off me. I did not have to negotiate dinners with his family, nor the visit to his grandmother on Sundays, nor the game on Mondays. I could stay until late with Evan. I could choose myself. I uploaded photos. I wrote a phrase. I will never again carry what is not mine. I received 141 likes. I felt justified. The fall came in slopes and bills. First, my boss called me to her cubicle. Do you have a minute? She smiled barely. Sure. An informal complaint arrived from compliance. It is delicate. She put a sheet with 2 paragraphs in front of me. Someone reported that you are in a relationship with a consultant who evaluates your area. It is true. He is not my evaluator. I corrected out of habit. He is part of the rotation that verifies your deliverables. She corrected me with the same calm. And if he is, you are in a conflict of interest. You must declare it, and while it is investigated, I have to remove you from the projects in progress. Who reported it? I cannot tell you. She averted her eyes. Later, I knew that it was a colleague whom I had silenced in a meeting, accusing her of reproducing gender roles. She did me a favor that then felt like a stab wound. Evan got scared. The brave ones of the hallway always shrink when a form appears. Evan, we are going to be audited. Better to stop seeing each other. Me, you are going to leave me alone with this? Evan, it is not personal. Me, it is everything. Evan, sorry. A sticker of hands letting go. That was his goodbye. There began the row of dominoes falling. Lucas wrote to me a week later. A brief message. Lucas, I spoke with a lawyer. I will start the divorce. Me, you are not going to try to fix anything? Lucas, I asked you for 10 minutes and you gave me slogans. Me, do not make that excuse, Lucas. Lucas, it is not an excuse. Me, you deserve part of the guilt. Lucas, I am going to limit myself to the legal matters. I will write to you only for the dog and for the payments of the month. Me, how cold, Lucas. Lucas, how honest. He had his 401k and his excellent credit. I had my cards to the limit because in that choosing myself, I had decided that I deserved new clothes, treatments, dinners. When he left, half of the rent stopped appearing as if by magic. I called my bank to raise the limit. They denied it due to revolving debt. I paid the minimum. I started to feel an empty stomach as a reminder more physical than moral. In that time, the radical self-care groups became a room without windows. I started writing less. It bothered me to read the phrases that before gave me gasoline. One of the girls sent me a DM. She, if he returned, set conditions. Me, he did not return. She, do not beg. Men return. Me, mine did not. She, then be thankful that you are cleansing yourself of masculine energy. I closed the app, opened the gallery, looked for a photo of Lucas cutting vegetables with that gesture of his tongue between his teeth that he made when he concentrated. Something burned under my sternum. The central confrontation was my last clumsiness. One night, desperate to feel something that was not the sticky shame, I went to the bar where Evan used to go with the consultants. He was there with a woman from his team. I saw them laughing. That laugh that I heard twice in 614. I approached without a plan. Did you already declare your conflict of interest, Evan? I said very loudly. Do not do this, he lowered his voice. Do the truth. I took a sip of the gin that tasted like nothing. Are you drunk? I am broken, I answered, and I sounded melodramatic even to myself. The other woman looked me up and down. Do you want me to call someone? She asked him. No, he said. I left with a twisted cackle that impressed no one. Outside, I ordered an Uber. I cried for the first time. I cried with that ugly cry that leaves your nose red and your eyes swollen as if something had stung you on the face. The next day, Human Resources summoned me. They had received a report from the bar, improper behavior that compromises the company image. They offered me a friendly separation with 2 weeks of salary and the signature of an NDA. I signed out of fear. Fear tastes like paper and ink. I called Lucas. They fired me. I am sorry, he said with sincerity, without ornaments. Can we talk? I asked with a voice that he had used so much. Let's talk about the dog. On Saturday, it is your turn to take him to the vet. I do not want to talk about the dog, Lucas. Yes, I made a mistake. It was not a rehearsed line. It came out like vomit. It was not self-care. It was arrogance. And you are not my enemy. Silence. I hear you say the right thing, he answered later. I hear it late. Can you give me a chance? No. The word was a pin that burst any hope. It is not revenge, it is that I no longer trust. I can change, I said childishly. Change, he said. For yourself. We hung up. That day, I did not get out of bed. I opened the savings account. $1,386. The rent was due in 5 days. I wrote to my landlord asking for a plan. He answered with a template, late fee of $100 starting from the 5th day. After the 10th, the process begins. I remembered all the girls who said, if he does not give you everything, do not give him anything. And I thought about the bills with real names, HOA, internet, electricity, mobile. I started selling clothes. I opened Vine Marketplace. I published absurd things that I had bought to feel more me, a wool coat that in my city causes heat 10 months a year, boots that hurt me, a watch I bought in installments. They paid me with haggling. I learned that shame also has commissions. My mother called me the 3rd month. Your aunt told me you separated, she said with that tone that avoids the verb divorce. Yes. And why? I did everything wrong. With another. Yes. And Lucas. Her voice softened. He was a good boy. I know. Do you need? She stopped at money. In the end, she said, do you need to come home a few days? I did not go. Pride still raised its head in the middle of the mud. Lucas came for the dog. One Sunday, he arrived with a gray t-shirt, short beard, dark circles under his eyes. He opened the door with his copy of the key. The dog threw himself into his arms with a happiness that pricked me. I brought you this, he said. He left a folder on the table. It is the agreement. The lawyer drafted it. Half of the furniture remains for you. We are going to finish the lease in June. I will take charge of the penalty. I do not want your money, I attacked by reflex. I am not giving you, he corrected. I am closing a door. Forgive me, I said suddenly, with eyes that stung. I am not looking for you to come back, just forgive me. I forgive you, he said very simply. I am not coming back. Is there someone else? No, the pause. But I am not going to be alone. I nodded. I swallowed a sob. The dog pulled on the leash toward the door, impatient for his walk. I wish you well, he said. He looked at me for a second with the eyes that I knew better than my own. He left. I worked in a call center. Yes, me, the one of the PowerPoints with graphics. I entered the afternoon shift. Thanks for calling, repeated 30 times per hour. I learned to measure my life in breaks timed at 10 minutes. I paid the rent late 3 times. I received an eviction notice that I managed to stop with a payment plan. The truck, which was in his name and mine, was transferred to him. I walked to the supermarket. I discovered the clearance section, which I never looked at when I chose myself. And Evan resigned before the audit. I spotted him on LinkedIn at a different consultancy. Once I saw him on the street with another wheeled suitcase. He raised his hand by way of greeting without slowing down. I crossed before the traffic light changed. My last foolishness was a post, a long, confession-type text in the group that had fed me. I believed that setting boundaries was treating badly. I believed that choosing myself was using others. I cheated. I lost. I am not a victim. I just made a mistake. I wanted to say it out loud because I got tired of justifying myself. 3 answers. She 1, deleted. We do not blame sisters here. She 2, sounds like a story to cause pity. Get therapy. Moderator, this is not the space. I closed the group, deleted the app, stayed with an empty rectangle where before the world vibrated. Do not expect a Disney redemption. Mine was something else. Getting up, cleaning the floor, reviewing account statements, making soup with cheap bones, vacuuming the sofa, calling my sister, whom I did not speak to because she let her husband push her around. I told her. Yes, she conceded, but one can learn. Can I drop by on Saturday? Saturday arrived with cheap croissants and a smile that saved my week. I told her everything without slogans. She listened to me for an hour without giving me a single Pinterest phrase. When I finished, she asked me, "Do you miss him or do you miss not feeling alone?" Him, I said, and I did not know if it was true. "Well, learn to be alone anyway," she smiled. "In both cases, it is your turn." I got a worse paid job, but more honest, in a pet store. Yes, ironies of the universe. I who said that the dog gave me allergies now cut bags of food and recommended harnesses. One day, Lucas walked in. I knew it before seeing him. I recognized the bell on the dog's tag. That precise jingle. "Hello," he said, with another woman by his side. She was simple. She had hands with paint, like someone who does something artistic with cheap acrylic and patience. "Hello," I answered. "I need this food." He put the bag on the counter. "Sure." "How are you?" she asked. Not him. "Fine," I lied with decorum. "Let's go, we are running late," Lucas said softly. "It was a pleasure." She smiled with that smile that does not start wars. They left. The dog looked at me for a second without recognizing. Or recognizing and not caring. It is healthy. In the apartment that night, I looked for the divorce papers. I signed them. I called my lawyer from legal aid, a young woman who works for salaries that I would have despised before, and I told her to please file them. I fell asleep without crying. The hard consequences were not an epic punishment, but an inventory. Friendships that stopped inviting me because we do not know what to say to you. Aunts who wrote to me, "Pray and you will see." A bank account that learned to be thin. A credit denied for a course because my score went down. The silence of WhatsApp where before chats rang with girls I never saw in person. A box with photos that I did not throw away because I do not want to invent a version of me that did not exist. Rebuilding is not pretty. It is going to the DMV to change your last name and learning that the line is longer when you do not have the exact papers. It is saying "I cannot" when they offer you an expensive outing. It is asking your boss for an extra shift and hearing "yes, of course" and staying late with the mop while the loudspeaker plays old songs. It is going to therapy not to blame the patriarchy, but to listen to someone who asks you, "And what would you do differently tomorrow?" I will say it now without adornments. I was cruel. I used other people's words like stones and then I hid my hand. I wanted to be right more than to have peace. I called any discomfort of others' violence and my whim freedom. I was unfaithful to the man who asked me for 10 minutes to talk. It was not worth it. There was no empowerment in being left with nothing. There was no sorority in the condoning silence of the groups. There were only bills, work, and the echo of my voice when at last I said, "I am sorry," and nobody had to answer me. Sometimes, when I close the store, I sit on the service step and write lists in a notebook: pay electricity, call mom, take the client's dog to the vet, renew the lease. I list as if with each line I could straighten the twisted. There are nights when I dream of the kitchen from before, with 2 cups of coffee on the counter. In the dream, I say, "Thank you, my love." And I laugh at the detail. In the dream, the cups are from the same set that I threw out of rage one afternoon. I wake up and there is no music. Only my breathing, the noise of the street, the old refrigerator. I am not looking for morals. I just leave my voice here for me, so that when I believe again that life is fixed with slogans, I reread myself and remember Hotel 614, Lucas's "I will not humiliate you," the bar, the contract on the table, the dog wagging its tail toward the door. To remember that choosing yourself is not using the other as a stepping stone. To remember that there are damages that are paid with simple and dry loss. Losing the one who did not yell at you when he had every argument to do so. I say. And sometimes that is enough not to sink, or at least not to keep digging.